What's up? It's been a long time, but welcome to Successor. Successor is where I take a look at a first founding loyalist force going in Legion order and I give you my personal take on favorite successor of that force. This is because successor chapters are actually pretty cool. They are most often viewed as a palette swap, and at their most basic level, that is what they are, but they are so much more than that, especially nowadays as we seem to be getting more lore, even if it's just a blurb, a paragraph or two, we are getting more lore for successors than I felt like we did get back in the day. Not just new successors, but old as well. And this is really cool because you might be interested in a certain Space Marine first founding type of force, but maybe the color scheme, the name, even the fit and finish of their demeanor and the way they employ the tactical concept, you're not the biggest fan of. Any of that, a combination or just one of those things. So it kind of holds you back from wanting to collect them, although you really like them. Well, one of their successors might be just what the doctor ordered. So, with that said, that's the idea behind Successor. And I look at them as either the force I would collect if I wasn't allowed to collect the first founding force. Case in point, Dark Angels, I do collect them, but if I just was forbidden from doing that, then I would go with Angels of Vengeance. And in the case of the White Scars, I'd probably go Mantis Warriors before White Scars. So that's kind of the idea of how I look at it. With that said, up on the chopping block this time is the third loyalist force to talk about in Legion numerical order, and that is the Space Wolves. Now, Space Wolves throw a bit of a wrench in this whole concept because they don't really do the whole successor chapter thing. They haven't for quite some time anyway. The few times they tried has always been bad. The Blood Wolves are a renegade warband. The Wolf Brothers were forcibly disbanded due to genetic degradation and mutation. That doesn't help things out. And Skyrar's Dark Wolves are unconfirmed, but thought to be another renegade successor or offshoot of the Space Wolves. So, not looking good for the Space Wolves. However, with Ultima founding and the Primaris, they do have a successor. The Wolfspear are a pure Primaris Ultima founding successor to the Space Wolves. And that makes them default winners, but they're also interesting. I like what they did with the Wolfspear lore to kind of tie this to the Space Wolves. Space Wolves march to the beat of their own drum, 110%, right? That's what they've always done. They don't follow the Codex Astartes at all. They do their own thing, and they have their own terminologies for things as well. As a result, something like the Primaris, which they do have reinforcements of themselves and do use, you would suspect are being viewed questionably by members of that chapter. And this concept is played with very nicely in the Wolfspear. So the Wolfspear are pure Primaris. Initially an understrength fleet-based chapter, the Wolfspear were given a homeworld, or they eventually got a homeworld, I should say, and were given some reinforcement by the Space Wolves themselves. This kind of helped, at least symbolically, form a bond of brotherhood unprecedented with the Space Wolves with anybody else, because, well, they didn't really have anybody else to form this brotherhood with like this. So that's cool. Before we go any further, though, the Wolfspear do seem to have undergone a retcon already. Their initial color scheme was much more in line with the Space Wolf style of gray. It had much more going for it of a Space Wolf type of gray, like I said. It was kind of like a slate storm gray. Now they have a light gray. It's a very light traditional gray, and it utilizes black in the shoulder pad inset and maybe even a black backpack. So that's interesting. And their symbol has changed as well. Now it's a wolf head on with crossed red spears behind them. This dual color chapter badge on their armor is cool because it's not the most done thing when it comes to chapter symbols. Yeah, we see it and it's out there. It's not unheard of. We do have plenty of examples. But we also have so many more, I feel anyway, just single colored chapter symbols. So it's cool to see that. Although it would make it a bit more difficult to do yourself freehanding because multiple colors on a black background. In any case, still not bad at all. So with that said, the Wolfspear do not conform to the Codex Astartes either. They use many of the same organizational structures and customs of the Space Wolves because they are sons of Russ. And they want so badly to be accepted as true inheritors of the Wolf King. They actually have kind of a self-imposed burden because of this. They know that the Space Wolves have accepted Primaris amongst their own ranks, but they also know that there are many amongst the Space Wolves who have not decided if Primaris Astartes are truly real sons of Russ, if you will, true inheritors of his legacy. And all the Wolfspear want is to be accepted, you could say, as a true brother, and not just, an ally. Which is really cool, and it weighs on them. It's what drives them. It's why they throw themselves in the battle, not recklessly, but with purpose. It's why they really were not happy by being placed on permanent garrison duty to protect the Imperium from the pit of Ralkos. An important duty, but one that they feel hampers or slows down their ability to prove themselves to their parent force, the Space Wolves. So I do like that because it's exactly what you would expect. You would think a force like the Space Wolves would be on the fence about Primaris. And while they basically are accepting because reinforcements are needed across the galaxy, but outside of that, accepting reinforcements and embracing them as true brothers and sons of Russ are two different things. And the Wolfspear want that second thing, to be viewed as a true brother and inheritor of Russ. So I like that that's part of their lore and what drives them. As a result, when they did receive reinforcements a bit from Space Wolves, they eagerly accepted it, and they gladly maintain many Fenrisian customs that the Space Wolves do, because while they're not of Fenris themselves, they again are trying to reinforce and cement their legacy as being an inheritor of the Wolf King. If only I could speak. Coffee hasn't kicked in yet. In any case, I like that about the Wolfspear. It's refreshing. It's not just a typical belligerent, not in a derogatory negative way, but the belligerent, we are our own thing concept that you associate stereotypically with the Sons of Russ. That's there because they do very much their own thing, just like the Space Wolves do, but it's there tempered by the fact that they seek to be embraced as true brothers, which is, I think, has great plot potential. As far as their abilities, what I find rather interesting also is apparently their tactics. Their tactics are a blending of several different ideas. I mean, that shouldn't come as any surprise. Even the Raven Guard have blending of ideas and White Scars and whatever else. But it's like part White Scar, part Raven Guard, and kind of almost part just raw aggression, insert aggressive melee driven almost chapter here, because there's several that fit the bill. They really make use of pack hunting tactics, and every strategic concept that they do is reinforced and makes use of pack hunting tactics. Reinforced by, I should say, and makes use of pack hunting tactics. Where packs of killers, so packs of Astartes, go and do their thing. They will try to swiftly destroy the enemy's vanguard. They will encircle encampments with swift-moving vehicles and whatever else. When it comes to destroying a larger force or a larger ship even in space battles, they just gut it. They won't necessarily try and truly capture it. They won't try and just detonate it to dust. But once it becomes gutted and therefore useless in battle, they move on. And I do like that mindset. It's an efficient concept, so that's pretty cool. Their goal is to do precision strikes to remove avenues of escape, and then they strike the enemy from multiple fronts to cause confusion. and its rapid redeployment strikes, it would seem, or at least multiple packs striking in at different times, at different places, to cause confusion and fear. They also try to infiltrate the enemy Vox networks and do psychological warfare with howls, which is interesting. So that's kind of a neat added touch. And then at some predetermined point of time in their battle stratagem, whatever the main objective is for this particular battle, is it a decapitation strike, if I could speak, caffeine needs to kick in, whether it's a decapitation strike or whether it is a motor pool sabotage strike, whatever the case is, whatever the main objective of the battle is, that death from 1,000 cuts tactic that it almost seems like is going on with these independent packs doing their damage and sowing terror and destruction, suddenly converges to one rapid, hard-hitting attack push to a single point from multiple angles. And it's a cool blending of tactics. I do find that refreshing and different from just their simple idea of what could have been just an aggressive push on the enemy. It blends what Space Wolves like, which is kind of rapid assault, but it also does it in their own way, which is pretty cool. And keeping in mind they're purely primaris, they would have to do it with purely primaris only war gear and equipment. So that leads to a different feel in the fighting, a different way of achieving an objective, and of course different units that would be used. So all that makes a Wolfspear still feel their own while trying to be true Battle Brothers of Russ. In any case, a nice blending of lore concept and ability with the Wolfspear. So that is the only Loyalist Successor official-wise thus far truly of the Space Wolves. I think there's supposed to be at least one more. I haven't seen the Space Wolf supplement book, but I thought there was at least one more. But this is the only one that I'm aware of personally. In any case, pretty cool nonetheless. What are your thoughts on the Wolfspear? If you're a Space Wolf player, do you like them? Do you just stick with Space Wolves? Share your thoughts. In any case, that's it for this one. Thanks very much for tuning in and stopping by. And until next time, take it easy.